Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Welcome everybody. I'm Rebecca Scott. I'm from the Taranaki Secondary School Sports Association. It's a college sport organisation that sits outside of the Regional Sports Trust. So we have a comprehensive events calendar which we provide quality sports and physical activity opportunities for secondary school students in Taranaki. And we also support schools and RSOs with some advocacy and leadership within the Taranaki sporting space. The launch of the Sport New Zealand Balances Better philosophy, it really supported our organisation's aims and allowed us to broaden our reach using resources and stories that are relevant to secondary school students. It also gave us a foundation to collaborate with our regional sports trusts and RSOs, schools, parents and students to take opportunities and kind of navigate through the risk. For TSSSA, the Balances Better philosophy, it really sits alongside integrity and inclusion in all our programs. And you would have all heard this stat before, but we know that half of our students are active and competing in sport for their school. So for us, Modified Sports Week was a way at looking at engaging our non-participant students. So Modified Sports Week, why it's important with regard to Balances Better, Student Voice told us that they wanted a fun participation event at the end of the year. And that's been our catalyst for change. And we've been keeping it relevant since the program started in 2014. So it's really given us the opportunity to deconstruct how a traditional junior sports week and competition structure looks like. So we're just providing an alternative to a competitive sports structure, and that's what we're doing as a region. Modified Sports Week is a student-led and participation-focused modified sports week, and it's for juniors, year 9 and 10, and it's held in term 4. So modified sports, we have things like forceback, spaceys, fast 5 netball, kiwi tag, ultimate frisbee, renegade hockey, and there's many more sports. The days are structured with anywhere from one modified sport to last year we trialled having 2 to 3 sports on one day. It's an inter-school event and it involves all 16 of our secondary schools, including 3 kura kaupapa. The modified sports days are shared around the region, so we sort of try and alternate them between north and south. And each day we have around sort of 300, 400 students at a different school or sports ground around the Taranaki. To really set the scene on how Balances Better has been incorporated, the event is structured in the following way. So it's a round robin with no results and winners. We encourage mixed and composite teams. There are no finals for any modified sports week. Sports teams can be regrouped to ensure games are more evenly matched after lunch. All games are self-officiated. If there's a dispute, team captains come to an agreement. And there are no referees. We have boundaries and we sort of set the environment, but if we leave the students to self-referee, they develop a new set of skills. Each team elects a team captain, and this person is responsible for the draw and sorting any game disputes. We normally have a captain's meeting halfway through the day where the students can find out where they are on the draw, and then they self-manage for the rest of the day. So that's been great. We don't have to read out which team is playing which team on what field. So that's been great for us. And if we have a bye in the draw, we slot a teacher and a sports staff team in to play against the students. And I probably should have mentioned at the start, but we don't have parents at our events. That seems to have been a sort of a common theme coming through today. And that's because it's in curriculum time. So we really reinforce that this opportunity is for non-participants. So we try to influence the schools that these are the students that we are targeting with consistent messaging around being social and participation based, and for students to come and try a new sport. We We have a known track record for providing quality sports events, and it complements the other qualifying competitive events on our calendar. And health and safety is really big, and we make sure our reviews are up to date on that. The timing of the event is really important as secondary schools' core focus is learning and education. So there's a real push from principals to have events out of curriculum time. So term 4 and post any junior exams is an ideal time. Early communication to schools. Schools are really busy, sports staff are really busy, so they need time to go to the students or for the students to come to them to get entries and to get all the consent forms back in. So you need to allow enough time for them to do all that. Plus we always, we try and give information around some of the sports. For example, you might do a little video on how to play forceback, and we send that out to the schools, and sometimes they will incorporate that into their PE and lunchtime activities. Schools recognise the value in sport and education, and this is an ongoing messaging that we work with principals and sports staff in schools around. It's just being able to change the focus around what we celebrate in sport instead of being results and numbers focused all the time. And really just those skills such as confidence, inclusiveness, self-management, relating to others as a lever to get kids out of school and participating in sport. And this also relates to school culture as well, so and values, school values. Schools get the opportunity to host a modified sports day on their school ground. So it's a locally led event. It takes away the barrier of transport. So it means greater participation from the lower decile in rural schools who often don't get that opportunity. It's also a really good way of bringing mahi to their school and encouraging other students to sign up. We get student buy-in because it's student-led and student design. So they designed it, so we know they're going to turn up. And we do this via Instagram. We do an Instagram poll each year, and the year 9 and 10 students tell us what they want. Students choose their own music, and they also choose their own school names for their teams. This is, I probably should have put this in the challenging section. So I get the events coordinator to go through everyone with a fine tooth comb and just check that they're all above board. Dress up is optional. They do wear clothes, but they do love to dress up. We see lots of teams in tutus and all sorts, and this is one of their highlights. They talk about it for quite a long time, and they plan for it for quite a long time. So it's just really allowing them to have fun with their friends, just in a really non-structured way. We also target the students by offering different grades, because we're always going to get those students that want to come along, they want to be competitive, that's great. So we always offer a competitive grade, but we also offer a social grade. And that's really the grade that we're trying to encourage those students that are new to a sport. And we've done quite a bit of work around focus groups at a boys' school in New Plymouth who have got a high participation rate of sport in their school. They have a lot of opportunities for sports, but some of those sports weren't meeting the needs of the students. They told us that they wanted less structured ways of playing, and one of the students' big comments was around the fact that they did not like playing with school teams because it was due to their lack of perceived confidence and skill level. So yeah, we've done quite a bit of work on that. RSO buy-in, well, it's a safe, inclusive way to introduce students to a new sport, and the RSO can can try out a new format in a shortened time frame before offering it to a large audience. This is one of our keys. It means, and there's no cost. So they can try, if they want to try something, then they can do this at a Modified Sports Week event. Having really good relationships with RSOs and understanding their capability means that we can sort of co-design or co-construct how we deliver the event. RSOs getting the opportunity to engage with other RSOs, so there's real value in that collaboration across codes. And we've seen an increase of that in the last year with rugby and rugby league working together, cricket and football, and they're just really talking to each other and trying to align these sports better with timing of competition structures and practices. And we've also been able to start a Taranaki Good Sports group, which has got 7 sports codes working together. There's a regional sports director in every region in New Zealand. They're heavily connected with secondary schools, so use those connections, because it just means that the RSO doesn't need to chase the schools. And it's a really good opportunity to support the smaller clubs and RSOs, a lot of them with volunteer bases. They don't have paid staff, and it helps to grow their awareness of the sport. And while not being the main focus, it does actually lead on to students joining teams and an increase in club memberships. There's been many challenges. This event's been happening since 2014, so each year we just make some incremental changes. I think one of the biggest challenges has been students self-refereeing. So this is a real challenge for teachers in charge and support staff. After being used to an organised sport model, they were really, really worried that the students wouldn't be able to agree on the rules, that fair calls wouldn't be made, and the list goes on. But we worked really, really hard and really closely with the sports staff, and I think just that whole consistent messaging, and they kind of trusted that we were making the right decision on the whole self-refereeing, and they've actually seen a gradual shift in change, and the students have taken real ownership. And I think 3 years down the track, we're actually seeing better decision making, and it's actually transferred into our other TSSSA events, which has been great to see. Kind of an example of this was at our recent netball event. Some of the school teams were short of players, so we thought that the events coordinator and I could come up with a solution, but the students and the teams involved said, hang on a minute, we can sort this out. And they sorted it out, and they shared players, and they just got on the court and got on with it, so that's really good to see. We kind of influenced the adults, the teachers and sports staff, that with less adult intervention and more time for them to be actively participating by making room in the drawer for a adult sports team, that this could lead to better engagement and outcomes for students in the classroom. So a student recently quoted that, and this was their quote, "I love playing against Mr. Cressingham at Quick Rip. He was actually pretty good, and I'm really going to try to work a little bit harder in his class." So we're getting lots of student feedback, similar types of quotes from students around that. We've really done a lot around communication over our social media platforms, and just that real social participation-based approach has highlighted a real shift in focus from developing a winner to skill development. Another one of our challenges was around no results. So that's just overcoming an expectation and focus on enjoyment as opposed to points on the table. no winners. The only winners on the day are students who show good sportsmanship. And we really found the purpose has changed from the first year. Students were so used to handing in results, and they'd keep coming up and giving us results, and we'd go, yep, we're writing the result down, and we were just, tapping randomly onto something. So we found it's just taken time, but when we kind of stopped worrying about the results, they finally did as well. So that's been really good to see. I think it's been a bit of a challenge as an event organiser. We've still got to ensure that we're providing a quality event. So that's been a bit of a challenge for us to overcome, just relying on minimal sort of adult interaction. And I think that real belief in student ownership, sometimes we don't give young people enough credit, I don't think. So it was really important to us to know that they were enjoying themselves, and we just talk to them through Instagram, so we get that feedback.